Don't know that I've ever managed to get people to be quiet. Hello and welcome. Can everyone hear me okay? Right. So we're going to kick off. Good afternoon, thank you for coming to the first Professional Connections networking event. I'm Wendy Morris and I'm from Communities for Children. I would like to start by acknowledging and paying respects to the traditional owners of the Gladstone region, the Baili, the Garang and the Garang people whose land we live, work and walk. I'd also like to acknowledge and pay respects to the elders past, present and future who hold the memories, the traditions and the culture and hopes of Indigenous Australia. This afternoon's event has been put together by a number of people and it includes Autism Queensland, Communities for Children, Queensland Health, Gladstone Regional Libraries, Department of Education and Training, Rosebery Community Services and a number of other people as well. I'd really like to say thank you to everyone for helping pull this together. It's been amazing in a very short period of time. So to start the event, you guys know me well enough to know we're going to do something silly. So we've got a quick activity. On your tables, you will see that there is a bag with a beautiful doll printed on the front. If someone from your table can grab the bag and open it up, inside is a torso. The picture on the front of the bag is the child whose torso you currently hold in your hands. So what I'd really like you to do is put together your child. The reason we're doing this is that because every torso is unique, the same as every child and family that we work with is unique. Putting your child back together means you're going to have to find the right limbs to fit your child. Check your picture, there are some clothes hidden over the place, so you'll need to also find the clothes as well as the limbs. So what I'd ask you to do is to work as quickly as you possibly can, but also as carefully as you can. You don't want to hurt your baby in the process. But the limbs are hidden around the room. The clothes are hidden around the room. If you want to find those, once you've managed to get your child back together, just make a whole lot of noise and Shakira will come and check. I think we've got a number of children back together. Oh, someone's lost their head down there. And a leg. Oh, no limbs at all. It's just still a torso. Now, did you have a bit of fun? I think there's some groups taking it a little bit seriously. Now, if anyone saw Marianne putting that baby together, they might not visit her again. The legs are no longer attached. Thank you. That was just a little bit of fun, designed to get some giggles, but also to highlight the theme, which is that the children and families that we work with are unique and they are different, and putting people back together or supporting them is going to be different for every person that you work with. So thank you so much. We're really lucky that this evening we've got a number of guest speakers who are all local people who are all working in the region with our families, and I'm going to kick off with our first speaker for tonight, who is Jenny Morris. She's unknown to me. So Jenny is a fully registered psychologist and teacher who currently works as a guidance officer at Toowoomba State High School, as well as seeing patients in her private practice as well. Jenny's been supporting families in the Gladstone region for almost 2 decades now. 2 decades. When Jenny moved to Gladstone, she was working with what's now known as child safety, and I'm sure you'd agree that sometimes it can be really confronting when you realise that you're working with your clients' children or grandchildren. Been around long enough. So if you can put your hands together, please welcome Jenny to the stage.
Who do you think is the oldest? Very loaded question.
20 years working as a psychologist.
Okay. All right. We're going to play a game called Clumps. So when I hit this, that's the number 1. Is number 3. Whatever number I tap, you have to get in groups of that size. Sorry. Can you tell why I'm doing happiness? Because I laugh all the time. Jess. Are you in pairs? Are there any spares? Okay, 2 more games. Just going to use you as my model. All right, stand like this. So when I say 1, you put that hand up and do 1. So 1, so mirror me, 2, 3, 4.
Ow.
That's the game. Okay, so when I say 1, so hang on. So we've got to be facing each other. When I say 1, then 2, then 3, then try and grab their finger. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. All right, next game. Now this is where you're going to realise that my husband often says, "No, honey, your other left." Get your right hand, grab the other person's right hand, pistol grip. So we do this, get their shoulder. All right, ready, set, go. Push hard, you're supposed to be touching the shoulder. You got a pistol grip, you got to be trying to get... Stop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, other game. 1, 2, 3, 4. How clever are you? We're doing the other game. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Have a seat, everyone.
You definitely won.
See, now you know why I choose to be the facilitator, then I don't have to actually compete in the games. Okay. When Wendy asked me to talk today, I said, we got too many clever people here, you don't need me to talk. Because we have so many amazing people in Gladstone. I then also said to her, that's just Law Awards night, so I'll have to be on early or not at all, hoping she would say, not at all. Didn't work. So I said, I'll just do quick 10 minutes, try and invigorate people, because I knew she would have lots of people here. It's no surprise to me at all, because I've been around 2 decades apparently, and I am never cease to be impressed by the skills and commitment from our Gladstone community. And I've lived in other places along the way, and other places aren't like this. So I said, they'll come. They'll have been at work all day and they'll be tired, but they'll come. So I said, let me talk about happiness and have a bit of fun. So that's what I'm doing. It's not necessarily anything earth-shattering, and I may need my technological person to flick because I didn't bring my little clicker. So I thought I'd talk about the quest for happiness. And I suppose I'm passionate about it because I sometimes think that the more we try and find ways to be happy, the less happy we seem to become. I think we need to sometimes just step back and realise there's actually probably some really basic things that keep us happy. Okay? So what I just did was a bit of laughter, because that really helps. Laughter is more than just a pleasurable activity. When people laugh together, they tend to talk and touch more and make eye contact more frequently. I think lots of times we talk about technology and the impact it's had, and some of the little bits I'm going to talk about today address a little bit of that, about why, although there's some amazing things about it, we need to remember it can't ever replace some things that as human beings we really, really need. I think that I read this stuff that I'm presenting you today, which is from a neuroscience researcher, and he talks about everything being interconnected. All right, he talks about gratitude a lot. Okay, about being grateful. He talks about gratitude improving sleep, sleep reducing pain, reduce pain increasing your mood, improve mood reducing anxiety, which means we can focus and plan in a way that makes us feel like we're in control and can make good decisions. When we make good decisions, we reduce anxiety and improve enjoyment. Then we get grateful. And so it goes on and on and on. Okay? So what the neuroscience research says is very interesting, and it's come from the fact that, very basic explanation, that, I don't know, in the late 90s we developed things called functional MRIs, which means we can actually see what goes on in the brain, not necessarily just an X-ray style picture. So there's lots of clever people looking at those functional MRIs and learning more about the brain literally every single day. And what we see is that there are responses that happen in the brain that are actually predictable in relation to emotional stuff, which I think most of us here would probably already have thought was the case, but it's really exciting because we now know it's the case. We have some evidence for that. Okay? So, we know that to help us be happy, a really important question is, ask yourself, what am I grateful for? Sometimes it just doesn't feel like our brain wants to be happy. We may feel guilty or shamed. What we're now learning is that guilt and shame actually activates the brain's reward centre. Worry can do the same. Okay? So in the short term, that's okay. At least you're doing something about your problems. You're worrying, you're feeling guilty, you're feeling some shame. But they're not long-term solutions. We know that if we keep doing that, life isn't very happy. Okay? So what the neuroscientists are saying from their research and their little tests and things that they do is ask yourself, what am I grateful for? Okay? And what we know is that it is amazing at a biological level, it works. We see in the brain that thinking about what we're grateful for changes the parts of our brain that make us happy. There are days where we will struggle to find something to be grateful for. But it's really interesting. What the research I've read says is just looking for something to be grateful can make the difference. Even if what we say is, well, there's not a whole lot of gratefulness today, we thought about it. And that activates stuff in our brain that helps us be happier. It's the same with the next point, which is labelling negative feelings. Okay? If you're feeling yucky, give it a name. I'm sad, frustrated, angry, cranky. I won't use the words the kids at school tell me, especially if it's got a microphone, it'll be very loud, which it often is at school. We know that just labelling it helps our brain to manage it and helps us to feel better. It's that mindfulness stuff you'll hear talked about all the time. It actually works when we work with other people. So a variety of support specialists, and right down to even I read a little bit of stuff about FBI negotiators. Helping people label their feelings helps you connect and helps them to function better. Make a decision. If you want to be happy, make a decision. Ever made a decision and you finally feel at rest? It's not a random occurrence. Brain science shows that making a decision reduces worry and anxiety, as well as helping you solve problems. Deciding can be hard, so what kind of decisions should you make? Neuroscience has the answer. Make a good enough decision. Don't sweat about making the 100% best decision that's going to be right forever. Brain studies back it up. Make a good enough decision. Trying to be perfect overwhelms your brains with emotions and will often make you feel out of control. When you make a decision, your brain feels you have control. Deciding boosts pleasure. We see that in the brain. Actively choosing causes changes in the attention circuits and how the participants in the studies felt about things. It increased their rewarding dopamine activity. Now, the last one. Please don't get me wrong. Touch people. And as I've said, not indiscriminately, because that will probably get you in a lot of trouble. But what we know is that we need to feel love and acceptance from others, because when we don't, it's less painful. And the researchers talk about not awkward or disappointing, it actually causes pain. An MRI experiment conducted when social exclusion happened with a group showed exactly the same pain sensors lighting up as what happens when you hit your hand with a hammer or break your leg. So we know that that's what happens. We need to show people that we care or that we're cared for. And we know that one of the primary ways that we now are realising we release oxytocin, which is part of what, and Dr. Barb knows much more about this than me, but part of what makes us feel happy is around touch. Okay? It's not always appropriate to touch people, but touches like handshakes, pats on the back, taps of kids' caps, okay, can be really handy. For people we're close with, that touch will look different again. I read a thing that said a really long hug releases a neurotransmitter and reduces the reactivity of the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that makes things hard for us. All right? Texting is not enough. It won't be the same. I'm not saying it doesn't work and it isn't nice, but texting will not give you the same outcomes. Oh, how embarrassing, the presenter's phone's ringing. That doesn't happen often at all. So yeah, there are 4 things that I summarised out of lots of stuff that I read and do that tells us what helps make us happy. So they're summarised on the next one. Ask what I'm grateful for. No answers, doesn't matter. Just looking for them helps. Label those negative emotions, give it a name, and your brain won't be so bothered by it. Decide. Go for good enough rather than the best decision ever. And hugs, hugs, hugs. Don't text, touch. Thank you.
So you all got your endorphins up, had some laughs, had some hugs, you had to touch people. I like that 1, 2, 3, 4. Didn't win. Just pull both hands back. Okay, so one of the things that I really wanted to talk about was that this event did come together because the coordinating groups or the organising groups had been working on a number of projects together, partnering and running some activities, and we tended to hear the same conversations and the same comments from parents. And I think one of the misconceptions for this community is that there is not support services, and I just don't think that that's true. I think that sometimes it can be difficult to locate the right services or the right support services for you and your family, but there is definitely lots of support out there. So I think we have great education facilities, great health providers, wonderful social support and recreation services, but yeah, as I say, what we hear is that people are either oblivious or they're misinformed about those services. So as the coordinator for the Gladstone Region Communities for Children program, I hear examples from parents that from parents but also from service providers that highlight the frustrations from both sides, because I think there is frustration from both sides. Things like, I asked on Facebook if there was any speechies in Gladstone and they said no. Yeah, well, I asked Facebook if I'm a supermodel and it said yes. That must be true. Yeah, no. So, yeah, you got it. So, I'm sure that this example is not an unknown to many of you here. Facebook seems to be the place where people think accurate information comes from. But I think what we do need to do is we need to acknowledge that more and more our community are getting their information from unreliable sources. So it's our job to make sure that we're out there and we're sharing that information with them. So I've heard stories of teachers and childcare educators and social support workers who've been working tirelessly with families to help them understand that their child has some developmental delays. The family then starts that really confronting journey of trying to find support services and try and navigate a system that doesn't have a map and is sometimes not got a very logical pathway, either for the family or for the service providers as well. So we're all doing the very best that we can whilst also being extremely busy, because there is no doubt that we don't have enough of everything for our population, but the only way that that gets better is by us getting a louder voice and demanding more services and demanding that organisations put more funding into our area to make sure that our families are supported. So what this is about you guys talking with each other. Because I think everyone here is doing a fantastic job, but we sometimes get caught in our own little bubble as well. And that's really important that you stay true to your core services, because you need to be the specialist in what you do, but you also need to know who else is out there that you can refer to when someone's needs are outside what your core service is. So we're going to start with our first networking session for this evening, which I'm going to ask anyone who has got a green name tag. If your name tag was printed in green, can you put your hand up for me? Means that you guys identified as being from an educational service. So we asked that question when you registered, which best suited the services that you came from. We're going to ask that you guys go up the back of the room, line up in a line, and we're going to come and ask you questions. So our next guest speakers are Tina and Shannara from Rosebery Community Services. Now, Tina is a provisional psychologist. She supports our community through programs at both Rosebery Community Services and through Headspace. Shannara is a qualified social worker. She's been in Gladstone for around 25 years. She works with youth and family in our region. She's previously worked in hospitals in mental health. Shannara has a particular personal interest in autism. But this evening, Tina and Shannara are going to have a little talk with us about engaging adolescents and wellbeing. So welcome Shannara and Tina.
Because I'm not turned on. Wendy, do you want to turn me on? You can
I'll
start.
just press your buttons. A bit of touching here. Touching's, it's appropriate touching.
Jenny said it was okay.
Okay. All right. Oh. I'm really not liking this thing. Really. You look like Madonna. This. Okay.
Hi everyone. We're a little bit nervous, so please be nice. Rosebery Community Services